Happy Sunday. We're officially 1 week out from the United Airlines NYC half. Both me and my sister Izzy will be racing, so hope to see a lot of you all out there. Wanted to do a little course strategy and talk about some things that I learned when I did the race in 2022. But before we do that, just wanted to say that this is such a fun half marathon. I think when I ran in 2022, there were like 22,000 finishers. And it's a super heavy elite field, which is super cool. It's like kind of like a half marathon that feels like a marathon. It's kind of used as like a big tune-up race for Boston. This year's a little bit different with the Olympics. But we do have Connor Mance and Clayton Young will be racing, which is awesome. And then Des Linden will be there as well. So all that to say, just focus on really having fun and embracing the amazing racing atmosphere out there. All right, so getting into the course. So basically you start in Prospect Park and the first couple of miles are in and around Prospect Park. Those, as you can see on the elevation maps, are probably like miles 1 through 3, are pretty hilly. But overall, the whole Brooklyn stretch is actually a pretty heavy net downhill, especially once you get onto Flatbush Avenue. It's like a gentle downhill all the way until you reach the Manhattan Bridge. All right, so here you can see highlighted in the pink. So it's from miles 5 to 6, you'll get a very sharp incline for the Manhattan Bridge. This is probably the first time that it's gonna feel like a severe slowdown in your pace. In my honest opinion, I think that this is probably harder than the Queensboro Bridge in the New York City Marathon, though after you hit that, you get a really, really nice downhill, which probably will be your fastest mile of the race. You'll then make your way onto the FDR, which is like miles 7 to 9.5. This is a pretty flat stretch. Do want to call out though that there are very few crowds. Pretty much the whole time you're in Brooklyn, you actually have pretty good crowd support, as well as when you're coming off of the Manhattan Bridge. But once you get onto the FDR, it is a little bit quiet. And then right around mile 10, you're going to turn left onto 42nd Street. In my opinion, this is probably the hardest part of the race because of where it hits, as well as the fact that it's uphill. So you can see here on the elevation map, starting right before mile 10, it's pretty steep uphill. And then it's like kind of rolling uphills for the next couple of miles. And unlike the bridge, you don't really have a nice downhill to compensate for that. So definitely this is kind of where the race like starts, where you have to like really start pushing on 42nd Street. Then you'll turn into Times Square, which is probably like the coolest part of the race. There's a lot of fans out there. It's one of 2 times of the year that Times Square is closed. The other, of course, being the ball drop on New Year's Eve. So that part's super fun. I think it's maybe slightly uphill, but definitely not quite as steep as on 42nd Street. And then once you make it through Times Square, you're going to turn onto Central Park South, make your way into the park. It's going to be kind of like rolling hills up until the point you get to the 72nd Street transverse. You're going to take a left. And this part, I think it's like at the 800 meters left to go or so. And it's just like this like sneaky little, I don't even want to call it an uphill, but it's like this sneaky little incline right as you turn. Last year I didn't race. I was actually watching in Des Linden. I just like remember the look on her face because I was watching right there. The look on her face on 72nd Street, it's just like this like look of like pushing. Like it's a hard part right when you turn on 72nd Street. So be prepared for that. But that's kind of like your final little push. And then you turn off the 72nd Street transverse going south. And that has a little bit of an incline too, but at that point you'll be able to see the finish line. And basically you finish right where the New York City Marathon finishes, but you're coming the opposite direction. And just wanted to show here, these were my splits, and you can see the elevation, how it's like, it's probably not a good negative split race to be honest, because you can see the elevation mile by mile, and the first half, a little more than the first half, is like pretty significantly downhill. You'll see there's a couple of uphill miles, but for the most part, there's some pretty steep downhill miles. But then from miles, 9 to 13, it really is like all uphill. That's not to say there's no downhill, but like net uphill. So it is a tough course. But like I said earlier, it is a super fun course. It's actually my favorite half marathon that I have run. So definitely go out there, have fun, be prepared for the course, and let me know if you have any more questions.